I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 148, If You're Waiting for an Apology. I used to think of myself as the wife of a porn addict, but I do not think of myself that way anymore, and you don't have to either. In this podcast, I am going to teach you how to manage your mind and your emotions so that you can stop living your life around your husband's pornography addiction. I am going to teach you how to stop being the victim and how to conquer his pornography addiction, even if he never does. I'm Jolene Wynn. I am a certified life coach, and I am a member of the LDS faith and the wife of a former porn addict. And this is a podcast for the Porn Addict's Wife. Hello, my ladies. How are you? I am great, and I'm so tired. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you can. My handle is at Jolene Wynn Coaching. If you guys follow me, then you will know that my husband and I did yard work. We've been doing yard work for the last 2 weeks. We ripped up about 5,000 square feet of sod and transplanted it into a different part of our yard. And then yesterday we laid down 5,000 square feet of sod where we had previously ripped up the other kind because this was nicer grass. So we moved the less nice grass into a different area and then put down new grass. You guys, my fingers hurt and my forearms and like muscles I didn't even know I had. But the grass is done. It looks great. And I'm very happy that it is finished. Now, my husband wants to do another 5,000 square feet and put grass in the backyard. I'm not convinced. Both of us are a little, we have a little, we want some time before we undertake anything else. And we've been focusing on the outside of the house for so long. I really want to focus on the inside. I want to do some things, like get some shelves installed so that stuff can stop living on my floor. That would be ideal. It's giving me a little bit of anxiety. I don't have anxiety normally, but when everything doesn't have a spot, that gives me a little bit of anxiety. And I would really like that to be done. And I would like my office to be done. Anyway, there's so many projects. It's going to take some time. It's no problem, but it was nice to get the outside finished. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, you've been a part of that, which has been fun. And I am recording this a couple of days early because I am headed out tomorrow to go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It is where we're having kind of a mini family reunion. Several of my siblings, their kids have spring break. And so my brother pitched this idea of all gathering together. And I said, absolutely, I will pull my kids out of school and we will come meet you there. So I am very excited. We'll be gone for an entire week. I will tell you all about it when I get back, but it's going to be super fun. So the kids just get to play with their cousins and it's relaxing. I don't think we really have anything planned except for a Hatfield and McCoy dinner shoot-off thing. If you guys know what the Hatfields and McCoys, do you guys know that family? It's like a Romeo and Juliet, but like think Western and way more hillbilly. Anyway, I guess they do some kind of dinner show where one side is the Hatfields and one side is the McCoys, and I don't know what they do. Maybe we'll have to, fight the other side in order to eat. I'm not sure. I'll let you guys know. I have never been to this before. So I'm very excited to go see what that's like. And for those of you that have been to Gatlinburg, you know that I'm excited to go. I've heard wonderful things. I've been one other time, and I'm just excited to spend the time with my family and relax. It's going to be amazing. I wanted to remind y'all that if you guys have been thinking of joining coaching, or if you're struggling with forgiveness, now is the best time to join. I am teaching a How to Forgive masterclass, and it is going to be at the end of March. Let me get those exact dates for you. That way you guys know when they are. Okay, it's March 27th through the 30th. And this is only inside my coaching program. So you have to come join my coaching program in order to get access to these calls because the content is going to be a little high level. And so I want to make sure that you are getting the one-on-one attention you need for these calls. This is an issue, I don't say issue, or a problem or a struggle that so many of you have, and I want to make sure that you get the one-on-one attention you need to help overcome it, to help you work through it. So if you are struggling with forgiveness, if you feel like you want to forgive, but you haven't forgiven yet because something is preventing you, then I would highly encourage you to come join my coaching program. You can go to jolenewynn.com. You can sign up today. Okay, you get lifetime access to my coaching program, and you will get access to these calls live. And And I cannot stress enough how amazing it would be, how much more transformative this material could be if you are able to come live. These calls will be recorded, so you will have access to them too, okay? But that's, again, all going to be within my coaching program. So again, you go to jolenewind.com, you can sign up for lifetime access, and this will give you access not only to this masterclass on how to forgive, but it's also going to give you access to everything else that I've created. All the previous content that I have, you get access to all that as well. So if you're struggling with forgiveness, if you want to learn more about what forgiveness really is, if you want help moving forward, then come work with me. I would love to help you, okay? Now today I want to talk about something that I mentioned last week on the podcast episode, which is apologizing. And today I want to talk about if you're waiting for an apology, okay? Some of you are in the boat. I don't know if it's a boat. Some of you are in the boat where your husband hasn't apologized. Maybe he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. Maybe he's totally fine with his behavior. Maybe he doesn't even necessarily care that he hurt you. Most of you are not in that boat. Most of you, even if your husband is still doing it, he doesn't like that it hurts you, but he sees nothing wrong with his behavior. So maybe he's not apologizing for the behavior, right? Or maybe there are some of you where your husband has apologized and yet you still don't feel any better. We're going to talk about that today, okay? All right, so today what I want to start with is I'm going to start with those of you who want to move on, but you want an apology first, right? I did this poll on Instagram on my stories I think it might have been last week now. And I was asking a bunch about forgiveness, and so many of you responded, and there were so many of you that said that you wanted to forgive, but you felt like the thing that was stopping you was that he hadn't apologized yet. Now, here's what I want to ask first. What exactly, and I don't mean this flippantly, okay? So stay with me. What exactly do you want him to apologize for? I'm serious. I want you to take a minute and I want you to think about it, because your brain's going to give the emotional response. Your brain's going to say, are you kidding? I want to apologize. I want him to apologize for everything that he did. And I want him to apologize for all the ways that he hurt me and every single time that he lied and blah, 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 blah. And your brain's going to go off. But I want you to, think past that for a second. And I want you to ask yourself truly, what is it exactly that I want an apology for? Do I want an apology for him that he hurt my feelings? Because again, there are some of you who maybe your husband has recognized that he hurts your feelings and maybe he's apologized for that. But maybe he hasn't apologized for his behavior. Do you guys see the difference? Get really curious and specific with your brain. What exactly do you want him to apologize for? Do you want him to not only apologize for making you feel sad, but you also want him to recognize that his behavior was wrong and apologize for that as well? And do you want him to do it specifically for different actions that he's taken? Should he apologize for watching videos? Should that be listed separately as its own apology versus staying up late nights so then he was too tired to get up in the morning, versus maybe he did some stuff while you were on vacation, while you guys were separated? Like, think about it specifically. What is it that your brain wants an apology for? And I bet if you ask yourself, your brain probably has a memory or a specific answer for you. And I really want you to just notice this and be really curious about it, especially for those of you who may have gotten an apology before, but it doesn't feel like enough. Okay? I want you in particular to think about this. Why isn't that apology enough? Do you feel like he should apologize for more things? Do you feel like he should apologize more times? Because here's something that our brain wants to do too. Our brain often wants to say, well, he hurt me X number of times, and so he should apologize more often. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm going to give you guys an example of this later. But our brain often wants to go, okay, let's make things even. All right, I was hurt for this many years. Therefore, I am entitled to hold a grudge for an equal number of years. And he has to apologize and grovel at my feet and worship the ground I walk on and give me all the pretty things for the equivalent number of years that he hurt my feelings, right? Our brain wants to make things even because it thinks that then it will be fair and that then we will feel better. Okay, this is often why we want an apology. Let's talk about it, okay? So first I want you to know, what is it exactly that you want him to apologize for? Also, what do you want that apology to look like? That's a really interesting thing to think about, because a lot of us have gotten an apology and we're like, well, that wasn't it. Maybe we think that it should be longer. Maybe we think it should be more heartfelt. Maybe we think he should have said more words, or that he should have cried, or that he should, buy us something gorgeous and expensive as a gift when he does it. Sometimes our brain has this idea of what the apology is supposed to look like and what exactly he's supposed to say. And then even if he does apologize, our brain thinks it's not enough. Okay, so get really curious. What is that apology even supposed to look like? What do I think a real, sincere apology looks like? And how do I know if it's not sincere? There's so many questions I just threw out, you guys. And I just want you to ask yourself these. You can pause, you can rewind, you can go back, and I would encourage you to do so, because all of these questions are super important, because they are why you are still not forgiving, which, if you listen to last week's podcast, you know that forgiveness, all it is stopping feeling resentment and hurt and anger, okay? So all it means is if you haven't forgiven him yet, that means you're just still holding on to resentment and anger and hurt, okay? That's how we know. Okay, so if you want to move on, but you want an apology first, I want to ask you why. Why do you want an apology? The number one thing that I get is that we really want we want an acknowledgement of wrongdoing, right? Isn't that really why we want an apology? We want someone to recognize and to acknowledge that they did something wrong. We want them to acknowledge that they hurt us. And there's two main reasons why, right? Why do we want them to acknowledge that they did something wrong? The primary reason most of the time is because it validates our position, right? It validates our emotion. I felt hurt, I felt wronged, and I want you to acknowledge that you did something that hurt my feelings, right? It validates my position as I was right, you were wrong. You did something that was not okay, and I got hurt by it. And I want you to acknowledge that I'm allowed to feel these feelings because you did something that hurt my feelings, right? You guys follow me? Now, if you guys understand if you guys have been listening for a minute, then you know that your feelings are valid. One of the very first podcast episodes I did is called Your Feelings Are Valid. Go back and listen to it, because this is what I'm talking about. We often make decisions and take action, and in an attempt, or we take inaction. We don't forgive because we want to validate our feelings. But ladies, your feelings are valid simply because you feel them. You don't need any external validation for your emotion. If you feel anger and hurt and resentment, that is valid, 100%. Okay? But it doesn't mean you have to stay there. Okay? Now, I want to give you guys an example that I talked about a little bit earlier. There was a point in our marriage, I remember this very clearly, I was feeling a lot of anger, which is very rare for me. I don't typically go to anger. I typically go to much deeper emotions, but I was feeling anger and I did not like it. Anger is not my favorite emotion. I don't like to feel anger. I don't love how that feels in my body, and I don't love all the snarky comments that come into my head when I'm feeling it. So I was feeling a lot of anger, and it was very unusual. And I actually had a coaching call that I was about to go get on, but I was sitting there and I was standing there in my room with my husband, and I was just feeling the anger. And I told him, and I've told you guys this before, I said, I feel like I want you to apologize to me every single day for the rest of our lives. Do you guys hear the bitterness and the resentment in that statement? That's what I wanted. I was holding on to the bitterness and the resentment because what my brain wanted was validation. My brain wanted him to apologize to me not once, not twice, but every single day for the rest of our lives. That's what I wanted emotionally. That's the validation that I wanted for my emotions. I wanted an apology every single day for the rest of our lives. And if you're in that space, that's totally fine, but I want you to recognize why you're there and what it is that you're waiting for. Okay, let's say you do want an apology every day for the rest of your life. What if that never comes? How long are you going to keep waiting? And what exactly are you waiting for? And again, remember, the other reason that we want an apology, right? This is the second reason, is we think it'll make us feel better, which is why we really want it. We have this nice idea that if someone apologizes, then that's what makes it complete. Closure. That's a word I hear all the time. I want him to apologize because I want him to acknowledge what he did wrong. I want validation for my position, and I want closure. Ladies, if his words were going to create your feelings, then I would be all over this, and I would figure out how to make him apologize to you. But it is not going to work. Why? Because his words, him apologizing, cannot create your feelings. His words cannot force your emotion. Okay, it sounds so obvious when I say it like that his words that come out of his mouth can't force your emotion, and yet that's what we want. We want him to apologize. We want him to say pretty things. And we want that apology because we think it'll make us feel better, right? We think that the apology is what's going to make us feel relief. It's what's going to release that resentment, release that anger, release that bitterness, release that pain. But ladies, your thoughts are what create your feelings, not his words. Okay? And I'll give you an example of that in a minute. Okay? Without an apology, ladies, we stay hurt. And sometimes that's what we want. And I want you to ask yourself and just kind of check in, because sometimes we kind of want to stay hurt. Like, let's be for real. Sometimes we want to stay hurt because it feels really good. It feels really good to be hurt, ladies. As much as it sucks, it also feels really good because then you're not the bad guy. He's the bad guy and you're the good guy. You're the innocent victim and he's the bad guy. The problem with this, ladies, and I've said this so many times and I'll keep saying it, the problem with this is that if he's the bad guy and you're the innocent victim, then you're still the victim. And you can't do anything unless he changes. And that just keeps you stuck. That's why you feel like you can't move forward. That's why you feel like you're blocked. That's why you feel like you aren't making any progress, because you aren't giving yourself permission to move forward. You are keeping yourself in a box. And the box is innocent victim, but still a victim. Do you guys see what I'm saying? And I want you guys to recognize that you have so much more control, so much more power to change your emotional state, to change your mental health than you give yourself credit for. Okay? That's my job on the podcast, is to help you recognize this, right? So sometimes without an apology, we get to stay hurt and we have a really good reason for it, which honestly, most people would agree with. Most people agree that if your husband did something to hurt your feelings and then he doesn't apologize, that you have reserved the right to be angry at him till kingdom come. People do. They think that that's totally fine. And it is if you want to stay hurt. That's the trade-off. Remember, not forgiving means you continue to feel anger and hurt and resentment. That's it. That's what not forgiving means. The only person that is hurt when you don't forgive is you. So even if he never apologizes, the only person that stays hurt by not forgiving him is yourself. It doesn't hurt him. He can't take that on. He might have his own thoughts and his own feelings, but him not apologizing is not the thing that is preventing you from moving forward. You are using that as a reason to hold on to all the emotion so that you don't move forward. You guys see that? Now, here's what I want to talk about next is we often, again, we want an apology because we think it'll make us feel better. And it sounds really good, right? But think of it as someone, I'll give you an example in a minute, but his words, they can't change your feelings. Even if he says all the right things, it can't force you to feel better. Okay, again, I want you to go back to those questions that I asked at the beginning. Let's say your husband came to you today and he wrote you a note on a Post-it note and it said, "I'm sorry," and he handed it to you. You could say, "Oh my gosh, this is so sweet. I love this so much. I'm going to frame it. I'm going to scrapbook it. I'm going to take a picture of it and make it the background on my phone." Or you could say, "Are you freaking kidding me? A Post-it note? That's what I get for years of dealing with your stupid addictive crap? For all the stuff you put me through, for all the lies, one Post-it note? Are you kidding me?" Do you guys see this? I love this. I love pretending that there are all the different thoughts. It's not what he does that creates us feeling better. It's our thoughts about it. It's the thought that, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I'm so glad he apologized. This is so nice. Versus, why does he think this is going to make me feel better? This looks like something my child wrote and I can't even read his handwriting, right? Your thoughts about it are what going to be what creates your feelings. So if you want to feel better, ladies, if you want to move forward, if you want to let go of this hurt and resentment and bitterness, waiting for an apology is not going to do it, because even if that apology comes, it is no guarantee that it's going to make you feel better. Why? Because your thoughts are what create your feelings. And ladies, this is the best news I could ever give you, because this means you can stop waiting for him to get his stupid act together. Which, why are we still waiting for that, P.S.? In so many different ways. We want him to stop watching porn so we can feel better. We want him to apologize so that we can feel better. Ladies, stop waiting for that. You have no reason to. And even if he started doing all the right things, it's not going to make you feel better. I give this example all the time and I give it again, okay? This is an example of how you know that what he says is not going to create your feelings, okay? For example, I know you guys I need another example because you guys are probably getting tired of this one, but I'm going to say it anyway. A couple of years ago, I wasn't feeling very good about myself. That's not uncommon. And I decided that what the problem was is that my husband didn't give me enough compliments. So I asked him to give me more compliments, and he did. But guess what? When he said all the right things and all the pretty words that I thought that were going to make me feel better, they didn't. Do you want to know why? Because my thought was, he's only saying this because I asked him to. And I thought that that meant he was insincere, and that if it was really sincere, he would have come up with this himself and I wouldn't have had to ask him to do it. Right? Do you guys see this? So even though I thought that him saying certain words, giving me a compliment, would make me feel better, they didn't, because my thoughts were the thing in the way. Again, best news ever, because I actually have control over my thoughts. I don't have control over how often my husband compliments me. Right? And here's the thing too, is I wanted compliments in a certain way. He would compliment me and I'd be like, does he have to comment on like my outfit? Can't he comment on like, I don't know, something that's me and not what I'm wearing? And this is what I want you guys to apply to an apology, right? We think that the apology itself is what's going to make us feel better, and it's not. Because the apology, he could do it in the exact way that he thinks is a great apology. He could write it on a Post-it note. He could send you a dozen roses and you could be like, roses are the cheesiest thing in the world. And if he thinks a dozen roses are going to make up for all the last decade of nonsense, he has another thing coming, right? It's our thoughts about the apology that are going to make us feel a different way. So here's a couple of questions that I want you to consider. And again, if you're struggling with this or you want help with this, if this podcast episode has been really eye-opening for you and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I just became aware of and I don't even know where to begin, come join me in my coaching program and I will help you one-on-one, and we will start working on this, especially in my How to Forgive Masterclass, okay? Now, here's what I want you to question. What if he never apologizes? I want you to truly think about it. Because what your brain wants to say, or it did at the beginning of this episode, is that your alternative is that you just have to stay hurt, right? Well, if he never apologizes, then I just have to stay hurt. Well, only if you want to. Who stays hurt if he doesn't apologize? Only you, if you choose to. But that's a choice. What are you making it mean? That's my next question. What do you make it mean if he does apologize? Now, what I mean by that is, let me give you some examples. What do you make it mean if he apologizes? Do you make it mean that he's remorseful? Do you make it mean that he's changing his ways? What are your thoughts? Why do you want it? Why do you want him to apologize to you so badly? Is it because you make it mean that he's finally turning a corner, that maybe there's hope that you won't have to deal with this for the rest of your life? And what do you make it mean if he doesn't apologize? Do you make it mean that he doesn't care? Do you make it mean that he is totally fine with it? Do you make it mean that he doesn't care about you? I want you to ask yourself these questions and truly listen for the answers, because this is going to be huge in you taking steps to overcome each of these barriers. All of these questions that I've asked you are subconscious thoughts and beliefs that we have that are preventing you from forgiving and moving forward. That is why I am encouraging you to ask yourself these questions and to really consider the answers. Okay? What do you make it mean if he never apologizes? And what do you make it mean if he does? Right? Now, here's what I want to offer. Sometimes we want to say, again, that if he apologizes, that means he's sincere. That means he wants to progress. It means he wants to work on things. It means he wants blah, blah, blah. But you could also make it mean that he's just trying to please you. He's just trying to placate you. He's just trying to manipulate you into thinking he doesn't have to do anything else because he's so sorry. Right? I just want to offer these because our thoughts are the things that create our feelings. And I want to leave you guys with this. If you are waiting for an apology, then I give you permission to do one today. There's one apology that can happen right now, and it's the one that you make to yourself. I want to encourage each of you to apologize to yourself for waiting so long and keeping yourself stuck because of it. If there's an apology that needs to happen today, it's the one you need to make to yourself. I apologize to myself for keeping myself stuck. I apologize to myself for waiting this long before I started moving forward. I deserve better. That is the apology that I want you to make today. That's the one I encourage you and challenge you to make today. If you're waiting for one, make it that one. I love you ladies so much, and I will see you guys next week on a brand new episode. So take care. Hello, my lady. I wrote a book, and I would love for you to read it. It's called The Not Enough Wife, and you can get it on Amazon today. This book is for any woman who has ever felt like she wasn't enough, not enough as a wife or as a mom, if she didn't have Instagram-worthy enough pictures, if she didn't throw Pinterest-worthy parties, if she ever felt like she was not enough, this is the book for her, and it's for you too. So go to Amazon today, go search up The Not Enough Wife by Jolene Wynn, and grab a copy for yourself and for all the women in your life. I hope you love it, and I can't wait to hear what you think.